Alright, so picture this with me for just a moment. You've just gotten off a delayed flight, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, you're in a country you've never been to before, you barely speak the language, you have all this baggage with you, and you're exhausted. Quite frankly, a bit frustrated as well. All you want to do is make it to the hotel and then get some rest for the big adventure to come. But whenever you make it to the lobby to check in, they tell you that they don't have a room for you, and then you're actively finding out that the only person that you can blame is yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here and just now finding us, we're Erin and Will. We're on a quest to see the world as we balance full-time jobs and navigate around limited vacation schedules. We've been to just under 20 countries so far, and along the way, we've made some mistakes, learned some things the hard way, and picked up some tips that have genuinely changed the way that we travel. So if this is your first, 5th, 10th, or 50th trip, then this video is for you, and these are 9 things that we wish somebody would have shared with us before we ever booked that first trip. Just a few moments ago, I asked you to imagine yourself in a situation that you'd probably never want to find yourself in when traveling, especially internationally. But I didn't have to imagine it, because that's the exact situation that I was in whenever I traveled to Costa Rica for the very first time. When we got to the hotel, I found out that I had booked our room for April 3rd instead of March 4th, and we spent the next hour or so walking from hotel to hotel just to find out that no one else had availability either. Luckily, we were traveling with some friends and were able to get a hold of them, and they let us crash on their floor until we could sort our stuff out. But without them, our best case scenario was we were going to sleep on a park bench and take turns until the sun came up. So that brings me to our first tip. And whenever you're booking a hotel, flight, activity, whatever it might be, make like Santa Claus and check it twice, because it seems like a no-brainer until you're the one stranded at 2 in the morning in a place you've never been before. We don't always book everything all at once when we make our trips, right? We'll do a flight one day, a couple days later a hotel here or there, and then finish the trip out a week later. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it opens the door for making a mistake. And just to add to that, whenever you book a hotel, sometimes on a local website, depending on where you are, they might write their dates in day, month, year instead of month, day, year, which is not how we're used to doing it in the States. Honestly, it makes more sense that way, but nevertheless, we're not used to it. So sometimes that adds another layer of complexity whenever you're trying to verify your dates, so just always check it twice or as many times as you need to, because that one mistake has caused me a lot of paranoia since then. Alright, let's move on to our second tip of the video, which is never rely on finding an accommodation last minute. This is something that we learned not because of a mistake, but a strategy issue, and on my part. I'm noticing a common theme here. A few years ago, we were traveling from Paris through the UK to Edinburgh, and at some point we decided to extend our trip a day. I looked at all the hotels around Edinburgh, and considering it's kind of shoulder season, there was a lot of availability, and I was like, you know what? I'll actually wait to book the hotel because I bet I could find a deal. Well, I was wrong all the way around. When we were on the last day of our trip, when we didn't have the hotel, I went from hotel to hotel to find there was availability. It was out of our budget. And the further out we looked, the same issue kept happening. Instead of us having one extra night in Edinburgh to enjoy the city, we were about a 30-minute train ride outside of town at a place that we could actually afford, and our flight left the next morning at 6 a.m., which meant we had about an hour and 30-minute train ride to the airport at like 3 a.m. The lesson here isn't just book in advance. It's the idea that finding a last-minute deal is mostly a myth from what we've found. Just because it's off-season or shoulder season doesn't mean it's empty, and you're pretty much left with whatever's left, which may be something that you can't afford. And it's something that just adds an extra layer of stress to your trip that you could just not have to deal with. Our last day was supposed to be fun and an extra day on our awesome journey, but it ended up being stressful and honestly just not worth trying to find a deal and save some money. Speaking of cash, that brings me to tip number 3, and that's always to carry a little bit of local currency, preferably in small denominations as well. You might think that to bring cash on your trip is just a duh idea, but you come to find out that it's not just for street foods or little markets to buy like trinkets or whatever. Sometimes you need it for the bathroom, and we found that one out the hardest way.
I don't know why at every city I seem to go to, the bathrooms, the public bathrooms, are not free. You have to pay for it.
When we were in Paris, Erin needed to use the bathroom, and in a bad way. We had went to a couple of restaurants, and since their dining habits are different than ours, you needed a reservation to get in, or you just needed to actually eat a full meal for them to let you use the bathroom. So the next best thing is the public bathroom, which when you're outside the United States, almost every public bathroom requires you to pay to get in. And If you don't have small denominations, sometimes they don't let you in no matter what. We actually had a 20 euro bill, and Erin went to the public restroom, and the guy said, no, you need €1. We're not taking larger bills or anything like that. Having small denominations of local currency in a pinch can save you from running through the streets of Paris trying to find a bathroom at the worst possible moment. We actually recommend grabbing some local currency from your bank before you leave, because that can also help you save with currency conversions, because usually ATMs abroad, or especially in the airport, charge a higher fee than just ordering it from the get-go. Sticking with the theme of trying to avoid little charges that just add up over the course of a trip, our next tip is we always recommend traveling with a credit card that offers no foreign transaction fees. And that's because whenever you're abroad and every time you swipe your card, all card issuers charge some fee between like 1% and 3% typically, on top of what you're purchasing, because they're converting your dollars into the local currency. And it might not be a big deal for 1 or 2 purchases, but over the course of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it can add up to be quite a bit depending on how much you spend. If you've watched some of our other videos, you'll know that we travel a lot with points and miles to make things more affordable, but at its core, not coming home to a bunch of additional extra charges that I didn't take into account is probably one of the reasons that we got into credit cards in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I like surprises, but I don't like those kinds of surprises. Our next tip can lead to some of the worst consequences for your trip if you're not prepared. It doesn't mean a stressful couple of hours or missing a night of sleep somewhere. No, it's your trip's over before it ever started. Some countries require a entry system, something you need to fill out in order to enter the country. Like the UK is a ETA, which is the entry travel authorization. Or in Guatemala, whenever we noted that you need to sign a affidavit before you enter the country and leave the country, we noticed a lot of people comment and said they weren't even aware of that. Also, the rest of Europe's going to have an ETAIS, which is supposed to be coming out in the fall of 2026, and this is the same thing. It's a big document you need to fill out, and then usually it might have a fee as well, and then that's going to allow you to enter the country when you get there. Sometimes they might just not let you on the plane if you hadn't filled it out, but sometimes you'll get there and then you can't leave the airport because you're not allowed in the country. It's a big mistake that you can make and completely ruin your trip if you're not aware of it. And additionally, you should check your passport validity, because even if your passport's valid, sometimes they won't let you in the country. Some countries require you to have 6 months of validity left in order to enter the country, so you could go all the way there and then be rejected. So just make sure you're always reading the requirements of wherever you're going, because that's just a terrible mistake to run into and get rejected and then not be able to enjoy the vacation that you booked for yourself. Our next 2 tips are not necessarily necessary, but they can provide a huge quality of life improvement whenever you're traveling abroad. First is to get an international data plan. You can go with an eSIM route, or you could be like us and use our actual US carrier. You can reach out to them and see what they offer. For us, we use Verizon. This is not sponsored, but it's come in handy a bunch of times since we've been traveling, especially when you're overlanding through Costa Rica or you're going across Europe into different countries. You'd be surprised how often you run into a cafe or something thinking that you're gonna have Wi-Fi and they just don't offer it. And yeah, you can download Google Maps and other tricks here and there, but for us it's just easier just to have the data and know that we're good to go for the most part. We've never ran into any trouble with it, so that's why we would recommend it. And our second quality of life tip is something that probably a lot of people don't know about. I'm sure you've seen the videos on Instagram of tourists rolling their luggage across the cobblestone streets. It's hot. Most plane rides, you leave the US at night, you get where your destination the next morning, so you have all day to check into your hotel. We always take our luggage straight to the hotel, even if it's 8 a.m. Most hotels offer a luggage check service, so if you're staying there, you can just check your luggage with them. That way you don't have to lug it around all day. You can rest, relax, and just kind of enjoy just getting used to the new surroundings while not carrying all your crap around, which is a huge plus, especially whenever you have some larger bags you're traveling with.
It's a workout. I deserve these pizzas.
You can also check your bags as you leave the hotel, which is something we've done probably a handful of times, and it's the same concept. You'll just take your bags, leave them at the hotel whenever you check out, and then come back, pick them up, and then you can hop on your overnight train, overnight flight, whatever it is. It's something that we didn't really know about, but Erin used to work in hotels, so that's how I found out about it. And it's actually really nice to not have to carry your stuff around, especially whenever you're somewhere it's hot and you don't know where you're going, like you're just trying to navigate the world. This next tip might be a tad bit controversial depending on who you are, but it would be to not pack a single outfit for every single day of your trip, especially if you're staying for more than 1 week whenever you're traveling abroad. When we were in Europe, we actually traveled with a backpack and a carry-on, and not only do we not have to wait on our luggage every time we went through an airport, but we could move quicker through the cities as we move from destination to destination. And that's because we would just have 5 outfits a person, and then we would just do laundry when we ran out. It's actually fairly common to find laundromats or just places in general to do laundry all throughout Europe. We found them in hotels, Airbnbs, and actually we were in Edinburgh, we did laundry at a gas station. It cost us about 4 to 6 pounds, and it was about an hour's time to get it done. It was super convenient, and my back thanked me that I was not lugging around big, super heavy suitcases the whole way traveling from Paris to the tippy top of Scotland. And this brings me to my last tip for you is don't always default to going out to a restaurant before checking the local grocery store. The first time we went to Europe, we ate out almost every time, but then knew we had to make a change before we went to Switzerland. I'm sure that you've heard that Switzerland is crazy expensive, and yes it is. But one thing you can do is go to the local grocery store, because in Europe and a lot of countries actually, the local markets or grocery stores have pre-made meals, which are a fraction of the price whenever you're comparing it to a restaurant. Yes, it's nice to eat out and try the local cuisine, but when you're on a multi-week adventure, it adds up quickly, and just having like a quick, easy, ready-to-go meal is sometimes will save you a lot of money over the course of a couple weeks. This is one of our favorite things we do, and visiting a grocery store is just kind of a good way to get to know the culture and wherever you are. They always have different things than where we're from, so it's pretty interesting to see that as well. So that's 9 things that we wish we knew before ever traveling. From being stranded in Costa Rica to trying to cheap out in Edinburgh and it backfiring really bad. We hope that some of our travel mistakes can help you with your future travels. And if you've made any mistakes during your journeys, leave them in the comments below. Anything that you've learned in the past can help somebody from a rough time in the future. But if you're new here, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing. We'd love to have you join us along in our adventures. Next video, Erin will be back, and we're going to be showing you around the town that we call home. So until next time.